Okay, I'm going to answer one way to arrive at the maximum gain, the break even, and the maximum loss for calls. Next, I'll be showing how to do the same for selling uncovered calls. Then we'll go over buying puts, and then we'll go over selling uncovered puts. Now, one way to get the maximum gain, the break even, and the maximum loss for calls is simply to memorize the formulas. The max gain when buying calls is unlimited. The break even is the strike price plus the premium. The max loss is the premium. Now, this happens to be a chart that we're building that is a small portion of a much larger mirror image chart. And when you look at the mirror image chart, it's going to show you mirror images such as buying calls has a mirror image max gain, break even, and max loss is selling uncovered. The same is true for buying puts as well as selling uncovered puts. Um, but long story short, you simply memorize them. You memorize 3, you've got the answers to 6. You memorize 6, you've got the answers to 12 options questions on the Series 7 exam that can be answered within literally seconds. With that being said, I want to go over the mechanics using a buyer's view and a seller's view of buying a call option. Okay, let's start with the buyer's view. Now, if you see the buyer in yellow, highlighted in yellow, the buyer kicks off this entire deal, and that is he pays a premium to the seller. Now, what the buyer's done, the buyer is paid for rights. He's got the right to buy 100 shares of stock at a specific price during a specific period of time. Now, if you look at the other side, look at the seller's view, what did the seller do? He really did nothing but received money. He received a premium. The buyer has rights because he paid for them. The seller has an obligation. He may or may not have an obligation based on the stock movement, the price movement of the stock, the underlying stock. So let's go look at the buyer's view again. Now, 2 things can happen after this buyer purchases the contract. Either the stock is going to go up or the stock's going to go down or stay the same. Now, optimistically, let's say the stock goes up. Let's say the strike price is 50, the stock flies up to 90. Now, obviously, the buyer is going to exercise the call. He's going to purchase the stock at the strike price at 50 because it's lower than the market price. He's obviously going to exercise. If the stock goes up, it's going to be exercised. Call up. Conversely, if the stock goes down, let's say same thing, it's a $50 strike price and the stock goes down to 30. The buyer's not going to go through the trouble of exercising an option to buy a stock at 50 when he could just go in the open market and buy it at 30. So it's obviously he's just going to let it expire. Now, what does that mean to the seller? Let's take a look at the seller's view. The seller received a premium. He may or may not have an obligation. Now, let's say that stock went down to 30. The buyer, the decision maker, he's going to let it expire. If the stock goes down and it expires, well, the seller will keep the entire premium received and not have to do anything. The seller wants the option to expire. Conversely, let's say the stock goes up. Now, if the stock goes up, the option is going to be exercised. The seller's got to sell the stock at the strike price to the call buyer, and he's also got to deliver the stock. Now, that's good if he's covered, if he owns the stock, he's covered. He simply delivers his stock. He's selling it for the strike price. However, if he doesn't have the stock, he's uncovered. This is a dangerous position to be in. We're going to go over that in our next video, which is going to be selling uncovered calls and finding the maximum gain, the break even, and the maximum loss. Basically, we're just going to use the mirror image of what we memorized for the maximum gain, the break even, and the maximum loss when buying call options.